What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rona Garage. Today we are going to be doing some work to my 2004 Chevy Silverado 2500. This thing is a 6.6 Duramax, and we've got a couple of different things we're going to be doing to it today. So first off, one of the main things we're going to take care of is the steering shaft and the steering bushing on this truck. Making a lot of clunking noise whenever you're turning, coming over bumps, stuff like that. It's pretty obnoxious, so we're going to go ahead and take care of that today. And then we've got a temp door actuator for the passenger side that we're going to replace. And we also have some coolant. We're going to do a coolant flush today. So to get started today, I think what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and start draining the cooling system on the truck while we go ahead and work on some of the stuff inside of the cab. Need to get this stuff taken care of today. We're actually going tomorrow to get some new tires put on the truck. These ones are all chopped and worn out and stuff like that, so we're probably going to check the front end parts as well. But I figure we'll go ahead and get the coolant start draining from the drain valve on the radiator, and we'll go ahead and start jumping in the truck and working on all that stuff while that drains. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and open this radiator cap just to go ahead and give the air somewhere to escape. That way it's not kind of gurgling out of this drain valve. And then we go right down here into just underneath the inner fender. See if you guys can see that. There's going to be a drain valve on the radiator up there. Worst part about doing coolant flushes is that you can never actually catch all of the coolant. Alright, so while we got that draining, we're going to go ahead and move on inside to the passenger side of the truck here, where we're going to be replacing the temp door actuator, which is the little actuator right there. This one is stuck on high heat, so no matter what we do, if we turn it down to AC, it stays on heat constantly. So we're going to go ahead and replace that. Alright guys, so we got that new temp door actuator in. Now we're going to go ahead and move over to the steering shaft bushings, and I'll kind of explain a little bit more what all that stuff is. Alright, so underneath the dash here, you have this joint right here. That is our steering shaft that we're going to be replacing. And then, it's very hard to see here. Let me see if I can get a little bit better of an angle. There is actually this green bushing here that sticks into the bottom of the steering column, and that right there is what causes all of the noise, the knocking, the clanking, all that stuff from this the steering column when you're driving down the road, hit some bumps, or even when you turn full lock you can actually hear it. It's basically the internal shaft of that steering column is having too much movement and clunking. So we're going to replace that bushing, and I will show you guys that once I get it out. And that steering shaft, we're just going to take that 15mm nut off right there, and that should allow us to push the steering shaft down. And there's going to be another one on the engine bay that we're going to go ahead and take care of. All right, so here's our new steering shaft bearing. One of the things that everybody says to do is go ahead and put a bunch of grease on this to slide it up in there. The old one slid out pretty nice, you know, no problems with the pry bar underneath it. It was already pretty well broken, probably from the last person trying to install this. But as you can see, the bearings and everything came out with it. This is a new updated style, but this one, I don't know if it was just poor installation beforehand or what, but this should hopefully take care of our clunking noise. So we are going to go ahead and grease this thing up, install it back up into the bottom of the steering column. This part slides in. And one other important thing to note, guys, is after you take off that steering shaft, you need to make sure that your steering wheel is held so that it stays in the same position, because if it turns, it can break your clock spring, you know, just a bunch of other issues. You can have your steering wheel completely 180 degrees out. So I suggest sometimes running a seat belt through there. I actually have a stand that holds the steering wheel in place, kind of like what they use on alignments, but I had to take it off to get out of here real quick. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that back in real quick. All right, guys, so we got the old steering shaft out, and here's our new steering shaft. U-joints in this one seem fine and everything. They're a little loose, not like clunking or anything like that, but they're just definitely a lot freer than this one. This one's a lot tighter. The only big thing that I notice is this one just slides and makes some clunking noise. This one is very tight. I need two hands to actually pull it apart and everything like that. So hopefully that takes care of a lot of the clunking noise going over bumps. We did have to take this boot off of the firewall. There were 3 little 10mm bolts that hold that up against the firewall in order to get the steering shaft out. So we are going to go ahead and slide this shaft back in, and I apologize. I'd love to show you guys some more of it, but it's really windy out here today, and there's really not any good spot to show you. It's kind of a tight area down in there, but yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in real quick, and I'll get back with you. All right, guys, so now that we have got our steering shaft in, and we've got everything else taken care of on the steering, we're going to go ahead and test this temp door actuator real quick before we go ahead and fill and bleed the cooling system. So to do that, all we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and actuate our temp, turn it all the way up, and you should be able to put your finger down here where the knob is and actually feel it change. Okay, guys, so our final step of the day is to go ahead and fill this cooling system and go ahead and bleed it. What I use is I typically go ahead and just get the straight antifreeze here. It is non-concentrated, so you mix it yourself. It's usually like $1 or $2 more expensive than the concentrated stuff, and with this, when you mix it, you can get 2 gallons. So in my opinion, that's worth it to me. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and mix up some of these jugs, start dumping them in there. Once we get that system filled, we're going to go ahead and start and run the truck to go ahead and bleed it. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and start it up, let it blow all the bubbles out of there, and hopefully we should be good. Alright guys, so that is going to do it for today's episode. In the next episode, we are going to be working on my 240. What we're going to be doing here is this one that's out here in the driveway that's running. We're going to go ahead and pull the engine and transmission out of the running one to go ahead and work on this one that is in pieces. So the game plan on that is it's kind of going to be a whole build series. We're going to go ahead and pull the motor, trans, all the chassis stuff out of it, the wiring harness, everything. Put this one together. The one out there's got a rotted frame, so we're trying to address a couple things with that. But we'll get into that more on the next episode. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate it. Thank you.